I'm never going to financially recover from this.
Nope.
Here you go, Jim.
Yeah.
Just take my bank here.
We are now recording on a potato. Kelly is a strong camera. The magic is strong in Kelly. What were you saying? Something about ruining the focus in the shot before you did that?
Just that I ruin everything in my life.
Me too.
Yeah. So, we were just saying,
Go hire mouse.
go commission mouse, join our Discord, and sit down. Make sure
Don't move from that position.
don't move from that position. Make sure there's no cables trailing across the area. I mean, it's on me. I shouldn't have left my chair. It's not what we do. And get ready for our E4 recap part.
Dose.
I went for French.
I went for dose.
Because you're a dose.
Because I like when we use dose words.
So yeah, in part one, we basically covered all of Friday and Saturday.
Yeah, all of Friday and Saturday.
I don't think there's anything I really want to add on to anything out there. I think everything was pretty covered.
Good. Yeah. Let me think. I feel like there's something else. Oh yes, sorry. At the last episode, I alluded to something that happened, and I think people are glossing over a little bit about how poignant.
Yes.
About how poignant a herald it was. But I think I've thought back to it a few times now. Obviously, you all know, Caston kicked it. But he had a best last day in the world. He got to do sword fight dueling. He fought some scary things in the night. There was a fair. He got a load of sweeties. He was hanging out with his brother. It was great. He got his name sewed into Tig. But there was one other thing that Caspian loved that happened specifically on the Saturday night. And it happened in the sky above the Glory Square. We were walking back from something. Can't remember who it was. I can't remember what it was we were walking back from. There was a group of us.
Probably food or something.
Probably, I don't know. But what I do remember, I can't remember specifically who was there. I think Decimus and Dorian. Dorian and Teddy were there for sure, I know. But as we rounded the corner from the Brass Coast, coming down from Sentinel Gate Road, to that point where the Glory Square is laid out in front of you at the gate, the biggest shooting star I have ever seen in my life. And like ruddy, magical looking, leaving a trail of sparkles in the sky. I was like, Jesus, PD, shout out for this. Streaked across the top of the Glory Square. Began above the Glory Square, ended above the Glory Square. And I was like, that's pretty in-universe cool as well. I wonder what that means. Little did I know. But also, just that night was really cool. There was I think it was my mistake, because I took a moment to be like, this is wonderful. I was in the Glory Square, there were shooting stars.
You're having too much of a good time.
I was looking down.
The universe punished you for it.
Yeah, I was looking down over Anvil. You know when you're in the Glory Square and you look down at night and you can see all the lights at Anvil?
Yeah.
And there were shooting stars and two people were dueling over there and there were people laughing and wise guys. There was music somewhere. And I just took a moment and I was like, this is wonderful. I was like, Caspian is really happy right now and so is Jim. And then I went to bed. And what happened when I woke up then?
Yeah. Before we get to that, I actually want to shout out Casina del Seno.
Yeah.
She was our special guest at Smother Day at E4, where we read one that Smother we commissioned from her specifically. So sorry about that. Sorry that Ty is
we doing a lot of work there. Go on.
Yes, that consistently commented on your writing and everything, but yes, I still maintain that closing your eyes for a second is blinking. So yeah, there you go. Smother Day happened again. It was the one we read was like a lot of build up. It was more Shagward-esque. And so, yeah, it really took us a while to get into it. And then there was like loads of other random ones. Like, so
I dipped
you did quite early.
relatively early.
Yeah.
I wasn't feeling Smother Day as
Yeah.
much. So I was like, I'm gonna go on a wander.
But loads of other random people came up.
I saw that. Like, I don't know who they were.
No,
like
me
I don't
neither.
know what book they're reading.
There were some
you know,
winter markers came over, and it was
they had. I think that was Liam.
it was
Like,
Liam and like
right?
2 other people.
Yeah.
And yeah, so there's just a load of random things happening. But yeah,
Because I was like, I don't mind doing. Like, occasionally I'll MC Smother Day.
yeah,
But I don't want it to be my primary way of my characters meeting
yeah.
other characters. So
But yeah, I just mainly wanted to shout out Casina for doing such a good job.
well written,
Thank you.
well performed.
But
It all came together very well in the end.
but it did nothing to stop the horrors that was Sunday morning.
No, the climax of the
Should we
event.
turn this into like a real in post, obviously, because we're going to spend more time doing the lighting in here. But can we make this real sepia war story toned?
I think we can do that. I'm not going to, but I think we could.
Okay, as long as we could. Viewers, please use your imagination to imagine that
I got real bored of doing the black and white for the State of the Empire.
Oh yeah.
And now that kind of great swathe of color correction editing is poisoned my brain.
Okay.
I absolutely will do some community style pillow battle.
Yes, perfect.
Working on it.
But yeah, so let's talk about the battle, the Sweet Glade Massacre, as it's being called.
I feel like I have so much to say about this battle, and only a little bit of it I see stuff, you know?
Yeah, I have some gripes about this battle personally.
I'm going to come out. I'm going to come out at this right out the gate here,
Let's go for it.
and I'm going to say I really enjoyed the battle. I fully accept that Caspian is dead and love everything that has come from that, but I don't think he should be dead.
Yeah.
But I also understand that the refs did a very good job in a tricky set of circumstances.
I don't, and we're kind of speaking with a given context here, but I don't think there was a right call that the refs could have made.
So that's it. There wasn't
You know?
a right call. I don't think he didn't make a right call, but I think
it was an
closer-
unsatisfying call.
It was an unsatisfying call. It was closer to being the wrong call than it was the right call, but I don't begrudge him for having made it because it was a really shitty circumstance.
Yeah. But let's not talk cryptically. Let's actually talk about what happened. So
So the start of the battle. The muster was great.
Yep.
We had Randall wrote in the 11th hour and 59th minute of the muster, wrote a chant for the lance that we learned in line,
yeah.
and then very proudly sang 3 different ways before we got it right. And then we're immediately showed up by the Lavender Lance having an actually well-constructed piece of music for their lance thing. So that was great. Caspian when made his way over to Isolt in the middle of the muster,
Yes.
offered a palm, what's it called?
An olive branch.
An olive branch, which was somewhat swatted away. But then that was the road to resolution. And then we took the field. There wasn't really much. Oh, sorry. Yes, there was one thing I did notice that, and I think it might have been a crucial mistake that we as a nation made. We stood in the glory square for 2 minutes just chanting death. I feel like we may have invoked something.
Yeah,
there.
we brought some things on upon us for sure. Yeah, I think the start of the battle went pretty well.
It was going. The start of it was going swimming.
The start of it was going so yeah. The first 30 minutes, fine. We were on the main field. We basically just walked forward and smashed things.
Our usual modus operandi.
Yeah. And then we got into so we went from the main field through Midgate, and that's where things started getting ropey.
But even then,
it wasn't so bad.
Like, it was Caspian's first battle.
Against the Druge?
No, he'd fought the Druge in skirmishes. First battle against the Druge, I think. But it was Caspian's first battle in the traditional Glade Warden loadout, which is to say heavy armor, greatsword.
Yeah.
And man, I was feeling it. I was cleaning house. I must have killed 30 or 40 orcs, and it wasn't just like beating them; it was stunting on them. You know, like I was like jumping off fucking tree trunks and getting people. I was pirouetting around blows. I was like a fucking witcher out there. It was wild. I probably felt too invincible. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, like there's a really cool, and you can see it in the sequence of photos that Agent B. Smith took. There was a few times where not even the Emerald Lance, Glade Warden specifically came to people's rescue.
That's most of what we did in that battle, was going to people's rescue. Oh, sorry, very quickly. In the middle of it, two people were on the ground, and I think they were kind of new members of our Lance. I didn't know them, but I recognized their faces, so I jumped in to help them. And as I was doing, area of effect swings with the greatsword, and it wasn't me that hit her, but there was an orc took a really nasty shot in the face. Maybe it was me, I don't know. There was a lot of swords going everywhere, but I just remember in the melee I was in, this girl took a full force crack in the face and then got knocked back into a tree trunk, where then she was hit again. And I just fully dropped out of character. Yeah. And I went over and be like, "Oh shit, are you okay? I'm so sorry. I was a big part of that blah, 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 blah." But I don't know who you were, but I hope you're okay. I know I was fully ready to just stay there and pass over the battle. Wish I had. But I think your partner came and found you. So whoever you are, I hope you're all right, and I hope that wasn't too much of a deterrent, because that was actually like a noticeably scary and shitty thing that I've never seen as bad a knock in a battle as that.
Yeah, and noticeably scary and shitty is the theme of the rest of the fight, I think.
Yeah.
So yeah, basically when we got into like the edge of the woods, kind of just when we crossed it from Midgate, there's a lot of this kind of like small intense skirmishing and a lot of typical Drew shit of them trying to flank us, draw us out of position and stuff like that. And yeah, there's a really cool like montage of photos of us like charging forward to like help people, which you did, brought people back, and a lot of that kind of like back and forth. And eventually like, it wasn't just them or us, it was Dawn as a whole nation just kept pushing through more and more into the far end of the forest.
Reggio in the middle of it.
Yeah. But then we pushed even well beyond the Reggio.
But even then there was times, like there were 3 or 4 times that were like massively ropey, where like 2 of our house were on the ground, or like 5 of our lance were on the ground. It reached a moment, and from that moment on, there was very little catching your breath. It went from one severely dangerous situation, icy, to the next. Like, we'd get some people up off the ground and we'd step into another awful battle.
And with every more and more dangerous icy moment, the OC dangers got a lot more too. There were a significant number of like person down calls.
Yeah.
Like a lot of them. And I don't know if people, because they were just tensions and adrenaline was going because things were getting more and more risky and ropey, icy, that people's control of their weapons and things like that just started going, It was
a big jostle. I'm sure a lot of people were just getting elbows in their ribs and swords getting pushed into faces and all sorts of stuff,
But we, continuing the theme of Dawn-ish people going and rescuing people, we are told we have to go and help some Navarre. And I've actually, the only time I've been so far down this part of the field was the day before we were monstering, where that oin thing happened, because that was literally at the far spawn, and we came in. We were like that far down, so we were super
as far
away
from the gate as you can be.
Yeah, literally as far away as you can be. And then things started really, really, really going to shit.
I remember specifically in real time how that happened. So we had just fucked the Drush. Like we had whomped them. All of dawn was just kind of standing in a clearing.
Yeah.
And somebody came and said, Navarre are down that way. They've just gotten absolutely blitzed by the Drush. Can somebody go get them? And we were very bravado. We just charged in, as you do, Dawn. We got in. There was probably 10 Drush surrounding these guys at this point. Immediate quick work of them. Got all of Navarre up. And somebody was like, oh, there's some Drush in the bush there. And I remember this moment because like 5 Drush came out of the bush. And we were like, let's fight them. And we, had beaten like 3 of them. And there was like 3 of us fighting them. We'd beaten like 3 of them. And then like 5 more came out. And we were like, okay, hold on. We started shouting for more. And then as I was dealing with them, I was probably fighting for probably 10 seconds.
Yeah.
And I turned around to see Dawn and Navarre fully fleeing, not retreating, fully fleeing from, and maybe it's my brain exaggerating these numbers, but fully hundreds of Drush charging down this channel at us. And they like they were coming out of bushes, they were in our way when we were fleeing, they were like it was like, oh, there's 5, there's 10, there's every monster on the field right now.
Yeah.
And so many of them. And we got back into that same glade we were.
Yeah.
But at that point, it was so many people packed into one glade. I don't even know why we couldn't keep going. I'm assuming because there were monsters there as well. But
because I don't think we could keep going because we were told to hold at Reggio, which is basically where we pulled back to.
Yeah.
And then at that time when we were in that Reggio, everyone else, and that's not an exaggeration, every other nation fucked off and left. They left the field. So that we didn't have people holding the gates and holding people back from behind us. So the Drush were literally everywhere. So yeah, and it was at that point then, I think when we realized how rough everything was. I remember.
I didn't know at that point that the other nations were gone.
No, none of us did.
I fully thought, I remember the moment when I was like, oh, this is how bad it is when we eventually, because it was rotating the thing, and eventually we got around. It was kind of a tree was the corner, for lack of a better word, the corner of the field of vision that I had. And I got to the point where in a normal battle, where when you fought to that point, you can step back, catch a breath, and you're behind your own line. And I saw just a line of people, 1 or 2 thick.
Yeah,
3 or 4,
the Death Conga. Yeah.
3 or 4 100 meters long.
The Death Declare.
Yeah. Of people on both sides of this line fighting the same thing we were fighting. It was like, this is fucked beyond belief. Like, but even before that.
Yeah, before we got to that point, that was really the beginning. Like that. Well, that was like
that was the end.
That was the end of the end. But like the beginning of the worst part, I just remember that Beaumont de Rondel just turned around and was basically to everyone, was like, guys, we don't know, there's no field commander here. We're by ourselves. Get out. Everyone just get out. And so it just became this frantic fucking fighting retreat. We were being worn down and worn down and worn down. And like thankfully, again, from like last episode we were saying, like I was stacked to the 9. So I still had, like 13, 14 HP.
I had 4. And some potions.
And like, so like I was on the front line so much. And I remember we got then to this point, we got pushed back and we were just in this big, long eclair. And
even before the eclair, like, people had just lost the mental battle long before that. Because, I remember there was a bit where, like...
Dude, seeing fucking Gaston and thing go down, like, I think it was at that point when we started seeing, like, big, notable characters around, like, the camp just fully dying, and you're like, okay, if any of us get out of this alive, it's a miracle. Literally a miracle.
But like there was a point where like the Drush line was like 3 or 4 people thick at its thinnest. Yeah. And I was like, they're not charging us, they're not pushing us. Maybe we can just get a bit of space. And I started I started trying to do a push. And I got like the 2 people left of me were doing it, the 2 people right, and the Drush line started moving back a bit. But then the first moment somebody got a hit, they fell straight back into the line because they were so scared. That like,
Yeah.
I think had we turned around and actually fought,
Done
as hard
a
as we
big charge
could
or
have,
something, yeah.
we could have turned it around. Not turned it around, but done better than we did. But like, people were so like they lost the mental battle after that initial charge, I think.
Yeah.
Because there was so much of like, at one point I had face taker, which is like this guy here. I couldn't even use him because I couldn't get my arms away from my chest. That's how tight the press was. And in the end, all I kept doing was just trying to create space for people, you know, which is...
It was getting genuinely dangerous.
And at this point, there had been so many...
Yeah, and so, going back to like the OC calls of people going down, like what then happened, what really sealed the deal of destruction and what caused Caspian's destruction is there was, very inconsistent, and this is criticism.
Reset the camera before we go in on this.
Yeah, let's do that. Going back to how we started this sequence, there was a lot of OC calls happening for people going down, and in some of the situations, refs were doing time stops that were either incredibly localized, just on the people that happened, or they were a lot broader in effect. And there didn't, and maybe there was, and it's obviously very hard to kind of see it, you can't really see the wood from the trees sometimes, but like, it was very hard to see a consistent pattern of how the time stops were being called.
No, and they were like, I was in a few different types of time stop myself, even just completely down to the ref that called them.
This is it, So I think some feedback for PD, if you're watching, is like, have some sort of more consistent way of doing it. If what we're saying is true, and it might not be, and we're not saying that it is, but like definitely our experience was that there was inconsistency in how time stops were being handled. And what really fucked us at the end was that we got caught in a time stop because, again, it was super dangerous, super pressing.
Go? I remember this extremely well because I have a bad back, and Tash was behind me with the banner, and she fell into like some undergrowth. Yeah,
like OC stumbled because we were like in the fucking
we were between
a path that's like
copse.
this fucking wide. You could barely walk in it.
And there was a whole, like, everyone was coming back on us. And I remember it was us two, Tash behind us with the banner, and then Decimus was in front of us. I couldn't tell you who else was there. Some guy in green was there. And Tash, obviously walking backwards, tripped over something and like fully fell into the undergrowth. But everyone didn't stop coming forward. So I like just threw my arms around Decimus and just, because he was falling too at this point, tried to keep him up by pushing him.
Yeah.
And I remember he stopped and a ref came over at that point. We were still, like the Druge didn't stop pushing at that point, despite the fact that very clearly, like Tash was on the ground and was at risk of getting actually trampled.
Yeah.
Decimus was in full plate and had, I can't remember if he took the injury there just after, but was like literally falling and they just kept pushing. So like I was screaming and then like a ref came over and like didn't time stop for a little while then even.
Yeah.
So we stopped, we had our hands up to say like, look, don't just go around us. Let us get our mate off the ground first, you know? And then a ref came over and he didn't even really time stop us. He was just there. He did time stop at some point. He was like, okay, everyone here, freeze or whatever.
Yeah.
You know?
There was definitely a time stop.
But then, while this was happening, and it was only 30 seconds, if even, the battle at the rate it was going was like wildfire going that way.
Because everyone in this massive death conga line was been moving, because of all these time stops, suddenly there was like a time stop would happen here, but the rest of the line would go, and then the time stop would happen here, and so the rest. So it became just like pockets of like 7 or 8 people like stretched almost the entire, like half of the field through the forest.
And that's what happened to us.
And so we were one of those pockets.
So I think there was you, me, Tash, Decimus, and then some other guy.
Someone else, yeah.
And I don't know who he was, but you're a legend because he looked at us after the ref said what he said, which I'll say in a minute. And he saw us all gladeboard and he goes, well, at least I'm wearing the right colours. And he looked down, he was in green. But the ref, we were like, okay, what do we do now? Because the battle was 200 or 300 feet that way.
Yeah, they had moved.
It was at Midgate at this point, you know? So like, I don't know where we are in the woods to tell you. They were at Midgate and that was 200 or 300 feet away. And the ref was like, and this is what I have an issue with, is he made the call to freeze us there. Like in that time, the battle moved on. And then we said, what do we do now? And he said, you're just going to have to make a run for it.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's not the situation our characters were in. We were fighting well and we were getting out of there. You know?
And most importantly, at the time of the time freeze, we had a clear route of escape.
Yeah.
When the time freeze came out, there was
we were 300 feet behind
there was
enemy
line between us. And what I have a significant problem with, I won't say significant, but what I have a fair issue with is there was other times and other time stops where something like that happened and they either gave the heroes 5 seconds of time in before they gave the monsters that time in, or they physically moved, they just said, everyone move over here.
Historically, that's how I've seen it done, is they'll time stop and then before they start it again, they'll reposition the players so they're more in line with the situation that they were in when the time stop happened.
Yeah.
Right? Replace your divots. But in this instance...
that didn't happen.
In this instance, and I don't know why, because I do feel like it was a clear call to make, and a lot of the other refs had made it, we were just told...
You're on your own.
You're on your own.
Basically.
And I turned to him and I just said, well, that's a death sentence to our characters. Like, our characters are dead then. And he said, I don't know what to tell you. And then he disappeared off to do something else. And we were stood there. And I just remember looking at, like, Tash and Decimus and you and Greg or whatever his name was, and being like...
And we basically all said to each other, OC, it's like, guys, we're just... It's everyone for themselves here. Tash dumped the banner. Like, the Emerald Lion banner's gone now. I see. And we're like, just drop the banner. We all just run because we
basically every man for himself was the call.
Yeah, if we can't, like, it's impossible that we stand there and fight.
Yeah, we had 3 seconds to make the call, if even, because the Druids were actively coming for us.
Yeah.
And we just we turned, we looked at it, we saw Midgate, 300 meters away, and we were like, we were like, the left seems...
Yeah, I remember you specifically calling out, that's the route that we can take.
That's the channel.
That's
the only channel we have.
That's the way of least resistance, you know?
Yeah, and I don't remember what happened to anybody else then. So I don't know if you want to tell what happened to you.
Yeah, so I'll tell what happened to me. So basically, I, luckily enough, had just been healed to full kind of at the start of this Death Conga line. So I was sitting pretty, I'd maybe taken a couple of hits through that, but like I was pretty well off, you know? So I was like, okay, I'm not doing too bad. I'm also incredibly heavily armored. And so I just...
you still had to do like 15 hits or whatever, didn't you?
This is, yeah, like, because I've been fully healed back to that, like, 14 hits. Yeah, so I was like, okay, well, I'm going to be able to run here, like, and so I did. And so what I'm assuming happened is I started making a break for it. I think I got struck down or something. And again, someone tried to like, cleave me in the leg, and only for that like side piece of my leg, I got out of it. But like, I got knocked down, just kept, and got up, kept running, managed to break through the line. I got to Midgate. And it's only, I think, because I was, so much more heavily armored than the people I was with, that they probably saw me running and was like, probably no point going for him. We'll go for the other guys that we can actually get. And so I went back to Midgate, was fighting for a bit there, and then end up on like the other side of, not the other side of, not the field side of Midgate, but like say, if I'll say like we were coming from this side and Midgate's here, I ended up fighting up over here, you know? Just trying to put some sort of like
shape on it.
Somebody
did an incredible tactical map of what had happened in the battle. If you can find that, it's on Facebook.
And it seemed pretty accurate from where
I was tracking myself, and I was like, that all scans as to what happened.
But I got like, this also goes to show how like amped up I was, and just how much my adrenaline was firing through that entire end sequence. There was a part where I was facing the other way, and I seemingly was being hit, and I didn't realize until someone did the classic 1, 2, 3 and like was shouting at the hits. I was like, oh fuck! My adrenaline was so high, between adrenaline and my armor couldn't feel the blows, and so like they turned around and they were like, how many hits do you have, or something, like in a kind of like snarky way, which I get, you know. And I was like, I'm on like 14, and he's like, well, how am I on now? And I was like, you know what, absolutely fair point. I'm gonna say you've said 3. I've probably missed another 3 or 4 because that's probably what I would do.
Yeah.
But like my brain was so on actual just like fight or flight instinct that I was like, I actually don't know how many hits I'm on. I'm gonna say I have 1 hit left because like I'm still up, and they're like, how much is how many hits you have left? I was like, oh, 14. Well, probably less than that now. So I was like, yeah, no, you're right. Managed to take a few steps back, chugged a potion, and then they just said, fuck yeah. So I ran away, and I was like, I'm just gonna say I'm on, because like I knew I'd been healed.
Yeah.
I knew it's very unlikely that they'd done 12 hits to me.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm just gonna say I'm on 1, take my potion and get out of there. And then kind of at that point, I saw you guys were all down, and I was like, well,
get out of Dodge.
I just have to leave, you know. It was so that was, and then I just walked out. I saw Dorian, and me and Dorian were just in bits, like just holding each other, walking like dead-eyed out the field. Then well, you did whatever you did.
Fuck me, yeah. So I took off, doing quite well for myself. I was doing these kind of like, there were Druids coming at me, but I'm fast enough that I was able to like go left and right of them, and I was kind of like, I'd go left, I'd hit a leg or something, and I'd keep going, and just trying to like not stopping to fight people, just sprinting, because I don't have 15 hit points, I had 4. And then some fucker with a bill hook comes out of nowhere and hits a strike down on me. And I said, I'm not giving this to you that easily. The rules of strike down are your back or your bum have to hit the ground.
Yep.
So I threw myself into a dive roll, and I came up and I hit him in the leg with leaf I had.
Yeah.
And cleaved him, and he went down. And then I spun around because I knew there was a guy behind me, and I hit him a cleave in the stomach, and he crippled. And I was like, yes, fucking yes. A third guy came in, I parried his shot, hit him in the shoulder, didn't kill him, but enough to knock him back. Yeah. Or not knock him back, but to make him be like, oh, hold on. Yeah. And then I didn't engage, I turned to run, and I just feel on my back as so many bill hooks started hitting me. And I just fell onto my knees, and I was sitting there on my knees. I know I should have been lying down, but I could tell this was it. So I just said, Caspian's going to die, like Cucullin. He's going to be upright, on his knees. And it was venomed, I did my very minor countdown, and then I said, well, that's it. Caspian has died alone in the woods. But there was a very cinematic moment where, as I was doing my countdown, I turned around and I saw Meredith just getting fully killed by orcs, like near the banner. And then I turned and I saw Decimus lying on the ground with orcs walking away from him towards me. And I looked into the deep forest and I could just see all these faces I knew just getting massacred. And then it
was a real fucking Game of Thrones.
Oh, it was. It was a red wedding moment.
Yeah.
But and then I saw a ref, and this is again where I kind of have a bit of a grievance, is I saw a ref leading a column of Daunish players, inclusive of some of our friends, out, and I kind of did like this, and I said, and they were like, we're running. Like, you know, we're being given a way out. Or not being given a way out, but they were given a chance to do the, you know, that fucking death column they were made to run along.
Yeah.
I was like, oh,
Yeah, we're given a fighting chance, basically.
if I had a death column, I would be so happy.
Yeah.
And then, like, from there, you know, actually it was quite nice. A lot of the Druids came up and were like, holy shit, that last fight there was incredible. Like, you know, especially, I think it was the dude that I dive rolled his strike down. He came up and he was like, that was the best fight I've ever had in this field. And I was like, okay, well, at least, you know,
Yeah, that's something.
that's something. I'll try to snatch some little thing to season this tragedy with. And then, who was there? I'm trying to think who we walked out with. Tori was there, came up to me. He was the first person to walk up. And I was kind of like, rip us. But I think he was actually lucky that he wasn't there when the fighting was at its worst. He
because
just happened to be OC in that bit of the woods.
There was a significant amount of people who had been like OC injured and things like that, who were, you know, had been brought out or were like just walking through the time, you know. But
but it ended up. Then I saw Decimus, or Ben, I should say at this point, because there was an actual paramedic over him. And I was like, oh fuck! And you know, thought of actual due process and everything left my head, and I ran over and was like, dude, are you okay? And one of the refs was like, shut up. And I was like, oh yeah, the medic, sorry. So less than useless in that situation. Well done, Jim. And then his leg was actually OC injured. So the medics did the report, but they're like, we actually, and this is again because there were so many, they're like, we don't actually have the means to get you out of here. And he turned to me and he's like, can you help him get back to the medic tent? So I ended up kind of, you know, doing the shoulder thing. Decimus, like, from Midgate to the medic tent and him in full plate armor, and I was like, oh, my back. But there was so many. Like, when we got to, we were quite slow moving. And it's interesting because Decimus was Schrodinger's casualty. In that he was in, like, an all but unwinnable situation, but then a ref pulled him out of it. And he was like, I'm fully willing to accept that my character has died, but actually they haven't died yet. And he was extremely fair. He said, I'm not going to say I'm dead, I'm not going to say I'm not dead, I'm going to go up and ask a ref to make a call on. And he did, and I don't know if the ref flipped the coin or what crack was, but
I have no idea.
Decimus lives, which was a bit of great news. But the line to God was like, it stretched back almost into
like the monster area?
No, it stretched almost back into the field. Having done a few of these, like, it was long, and everyone was just singing songs. They were like, as we walked up, everyone was like, glory, glory, what a hell of a way to die. And that's when it hit me. I was like, a lot of people died here.
So I was then, I had gone back through the gate at this point, fully had a breakdown with Dorian. We genuinely thought we were the only two members of the Lance left. Like, because no one else had come through. And so I remember just the two of us walked back to camp, and it really, really hit me when we were walked back into camp and I saw our camp, which, you know, has like 12 tents in it. Like, we're a big group at this point.
And it's, even when there's not a battle, it's bustling.
And it was empty, literally not a single soul. And I was just like, oh, like, I see an OC, I am devastated right now. It was super rough. And I remember then, like, I saw Gwen, and so Ty and Gwen were like, oh my god, we're both alive, because Gwen was also in the battle, but again, also got OC injured and had to be brought out and stuff like that. And then, you know, we're like, everyone's dead, you know? And then and then the worst part for me, like the most heart-wrenching part, was that Reginald, our newest member of the house, his in-character dad is from the Brass Coast. And literally only the day before, he'd come to me and was like, oh, you know, I want my son to be like a high-standing noble. Please make sure he gets a strong test of metal, you know, or, you know, if there's anything I can do to, you know, make his test metal be even more important or anything like that. do it. I was like,
That
yeah.
was such a good bit of game.
Yeah, it was great.
It still is, but
And I was like, yeah, cool. And then he comes over to me then after the battle, and I, at this point, fully think that Reginald's dead.
yeah.
And so I have to tell this father that his son died, but I'm alive and there's nothing I can do about it. And I was like, fuck, dude, I'm so sorry. And then literally only maybe like 5 minutes later, not even 5 minutes later, I heard reports that Reggie had actually made it through. And I just sprint. I don't think I've ever ran as fast as my life back up to the Sentinel Gate, being like, shit, there's actually a chance that people have made it, maybe Caspians made it, like who, I don't know. Get to the gate, and I see Reggie, and we're there, and we're passionate, we're grief-stricken, we're relieved, we're...
Emotions are running high.
To say the least.
Probably not a good state to be making decisions in.
No, and so obviously everything in my head is about like how his father wants him to do a big test of metal and it'd be super glorious, and I was like, Reggie, your test metal is to wipe the Druge off the face of this earth.
NBD.
Yeah, no big deal. Just casually get rid of them all. Just
a full faction.
Full faction gone.
Reggie.
Yeah. Reggie. So yeah, that's if anyone wants to help with that, come let us know.
Reggie has a lot of violence.
He's going to need it. Yeah, it was the first test medal I've ever issued, and it was a doozy. It still is a doozy. Will be a doozy. We'll probably never finish it. But yeah. Oh well.
He might.
He might.
He might.
Might.
TD.
But yeah. And then
the Glory Square.
Yeah, then the Glory Square. So then
if you want to tell your side of it, because again, we have two. This is where Dylan and Jim, as players, diverged for what I think is going to be quite a long time.
Possibly, yeah. So
sweet glades.
I'm really looking forward to what these recaps are going to be like in the future.
And we'll talk a little bit about what's coming next or whatever. But yeah, it's not going to be the same, that's for sure.
But anyway, we're running out of time, so we'll keep this quick. So basically, more and more people kind of trickle in, and we realize we've lost maybe like 11 people or so from the Lance. And so we're like, right, we've got to go to Glory Square, we've got to go Mourn and do our thing. And at this point as well, Isolt and Lambert come back terminal, after, fighting their way back to the Sentinel Gate. They helped a Navarre scout, who I think died, didn't even make it back, but they came back terminal. And it was a really, really nice moment, because obviously the whole thing, the Isolt's saga, began because she was insulting Lambert and calling him a coward. So the two of them came back arm in arm, basically being like, no, you're not a coward, and we're basically just fully had embraced each other. But we're terminal. And so I was like, right, I'm on a roll here of issuing tests of metal. I'm gonna issue more of them, because we gotta make the big choices here. This is like the,
This isn't the time to downplay.
I was like, right guys, I'm gonna issue both a test of metal here. And it was like, Lambert,
which is extremely good in Donish roll.
I think so. I think I was like, I'm gonna hit the tropes here,
Yeah.
And so I said, Lambert, you are Caspians, what's the word? Why can't I think? Retainer.
And brother.
And brother, but Caspian's test metal was to survive. That's what was issued to him when he went overboard all those years ago. So I'm going to give you the same test metal. Just survive for 10 minutes, Yeah. And then I was like, Isolt, I'm going to give you the same. You came here as a fighter. You just have to keep fighting for 10 minutes. Just stay alive,
Yeah, very good.
So we brought them back to brought them into the Glory Square, laid them out. Everyone was mourning, crying. The Earl Fools came over, gave testimonies on their soul. The dutiful scamp and the fiery knight.
Incredible.
And yeah, it was just super emotional, super dramatic role play. And then, kind of as they are still fighting, still struggling, still surviving, I turn around and I see this fucker fucking walking in again, walking in, from what my perspective, he was walking in as a player.
Yeah.
And I was like, did you also make it? And Jim's like, no, fucking dead. And I was like, you bastard.
That walk up to the glory square. Because, again, we started in the medic tent.
Yeah.
I was kind of in limbo because I was dead.
Yeah.
I wanted to go up to the glory square, but, I wasn't just going to walk myself
of course.
to it or whatever. So I think canonically what happened is the druids rolled my body down a hill to Anna as a taunt, to Lady Diota, because it was Lady Diota brought me up. But I remember going up, and Caspian was dead, not terminal, just dead.
Fully dead, he was a corpse, yeah.
So I was walking up with my hand in the air, as Diota was dragging my corpse through dawn, I guess. And I saw Lupo, Danny, and he was just like looking at me, and he was like, I was like, yeah, and he goes, and then I passed Morella, who murders Jim's heart by going, I had a quest for you. And I was like, no! And then there's a load of other faces I knew going up past. And then I said, I'm gonna...
Because Caspian had gotten so well known over the past year.
Because Caspian was just taking off, He had already had some serious alliances made for summer. It's gone, dust in the wind. But I said, I want to immerse myself here, but I'm terminal. I'm not terminal, so I'm just dead. So I just said, I'm going to close. First off, I saw Tash going by in random peasant clothes or whatever, and I was like, do I know you or whatever? But I'm I'm dead. I don't know anything. So I said, actually, I'm just going to close my eyes and just get the audio of this.
Yeah.
So I said, and guide me through this now because my eyes are closed because I'm dead because people keep trying to talk to me.
Yeah.
And she was like, okay, yeah, no problem. So I closed my eyes, and everything from this point on, I was trying to guess who was talking.
Yeah, you're just listening to an audiobook.
Extremely cool, because I got laid down, and I feel, I think you took my hand and put it next to Lambert, and I could hear Lambert. And you were like, it's Caspian, he's here. And I feel Lambert grabbed my hand and I was like, nah, I'm dead.
And I had to, it's like, when you grab his hand, you feel it as a cold corpse.
Yeah, and he was like,
Joe, he's like, you fucker.
He was just like, why isn't he grabbing back? I was like, oh, that's painful.
The role play from Joey and Harker was heartbreaking in the Glory Square. It was so good, but it was, but, that picture,
the picture will be up here. Content warning for the past, I guess. But they some of the stuff that happened, so somebody came and put my sword on me. I'm assuming that was Dorian, because that feels like a very Dorian thing to do.
Yeah, I can't
put the sword on my chest and put my hands on the sword, and then somebody put a flower in my hands, and then multiple people came up and whispered stuff in his ear. Some of it was really heartbreaking. Some of it was nice. One of it almost made me break and laugh from the other Caspian, which was very funny. I just hear someone come up to me and like, you absolute bellend. Now I can't blame things on the other Caspian. Which was very funny. And then, camera died. What was very poignant, both OC and IC, was that as we were, fading off into the labyrinth, all of us, there was a group of singers in the Glory Square. I don't know who they were, and they started singing.
If you know, make yourself known, though.
Yeah, if you know who that is, make yourself known, because it was really, actually very, I don't know what to say, poignant. I'll say it again. It was very poignant to me as a player and to Caspian, that they started singing The Parting Glass, because that's something my actual family here in Ireland, in Ireland everybody's fucking family sings it, but I was like, oh shit, my mom used to sing me that song in real life, and now that I'm pretend dying, it's playing. That's, it's weird. It was
the
like
circle
a very
of fantasy life.
the Venn diagram of life. But that was something. And then just as that happened, because I'd missed here the first time around, the Earl of Fools, they came around.
Yeah.
And I heard Tig telling Caspian's story, and she testimonied his soul as.
Oh, sorry. Harker or Izzle was fiery steel. I said fiery knight earlier. It's fiery steel for Izzle and the Dutiful Scamp. And because you were then,
because I was christened, for lack of a better word, the buoyant knight, wasn't it? Yeah, because his whole thing is that he survived clinging to driftwood, and I was like, oh, that's good. I like that. That's really good. And then that was it. It kind of event over.
Yeah, literally. I think after that, everyone was just so wiped.
Yeah,
we were all just like done basically by like 1:30, 2 o'clock.
Yeah. Kind of, we all went out into the OC food area and just talked shit about what happened. Like, you know, like except for Merlin, who was what was the name of the character he came up with?
Did he come up with a character?
It was like Jen Eric or something. And he's just a guy in a blue robe with a box of pizza walking around. Oh, it's so good. Yeah, that's another thing. Randall died.
Yeah, Randall.
Empire is a much grimmer place now.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like Dylan and I said earlier, this is going to be now weird going forward because I can't roll into Glade Warden. I'm not strong.
Yeah, be your fourth character in Glade Warden.
Glade Warden.
Yeah.
So I won't say it on the podcast, but there's a few of us are making a house. So there'll be a new house.
Have made a house. Some of you actually have probably met that house.
Oh, of course, because they've been in play at the
player events. Yeah.
Okay, so I think we can say.
Yeah, you can probably say it.
Yeah, House Sol Renee is the new house we're going to be into. I won't say much about it. You can find it in the field. Characters are going to be very, very fun. We've got some really fucking cool stuff planned. My character is got some. How would you describe it?
Ambitions?
Some ambitions, but is going to be extremely different from everything I've played so far. Do the priest. I'll flash up a little image of my illustration of what I want him to look like. And then I'll flash up the image I did of Caspian and how Caspian ended up looking. I think I did well. Hopefully looks the same. But yes, he is going to be Emberic or Emberic Ash Song of House Sol Renee. So yeah, it's going to be fun. I won't say anymore. I could talk for hours. I've spent so long workshopping this guy. But yeah, there's a lot of us.
I have 4 of you?
There's 4 of us at the moment. Yeah. So 3 of us are playing siblings, the Ash Song siblings, the other 2 of whom you may have met already.
If you're at the Hunter's Feast.
If you're at the Hunter's Feast, yes. Unfortunately, being in Ireland, I couldn't be at the Hunter's Feast. I believe I was off training someone in sword fighting, so that side of my character is unchanged. But yeah, that's all to come. So it'll be very interesting for us, for me not being in Glade Warden.
Yeah,
it's gonna be extremely weird for me for Glade Warden to exist. Something that I've poured so much of my heart and soul into making.
Again, if you're a long-time viewer and you've watched all of our videos, you'd know that Jim created Glade Warden. You know, like. Because he made it without my knowledge.
As a surprise to you.
You know, so like, it's very weird that like I am now like the head of this house that I obviously had a big part in like growing and making. I wasn't the originator of it. You know, I'm not the Glade Daddy.
It's the Glade Daddy
is dead.
Glade Daddy has died alone in the woods.
So yeah, it's going to be super strange to have us not be in the same.
And I mean, even our stories are going to be we're going to be. How was your event? And then how was my event? Because probably there's not going to be much overlap for a while.
Yeah, I mean, like, obviously we'll still be
in the same
camp. Obviously we'll probably staying in the same tent and stuff. So like there will be naturally a lot of like kind of overlap. But like our group is so big at the moment that there's like people in our camp that I sometimes barely get to interact with. I see for the weekend, you know, because there's other things going on. So like,
and it'll be the first time we haven't had that like. The 0.0 of our spawn in is usually the same because we're in the Glade Warden retinue and our missions are usually saying like I was there to back you up with all the field stuff. Glade Warden I
was there backing you up for the summer.
Yeah, exactly.
So like a lot of our stuff had been just naturally intertwined.
I think maybe we should put it in that like our dudes are like good friends or something. So there's a little bit.
I definitely think we'll have some sort of like background.
It's funny because I've worked out these connections with all the other dead spooks, and I'm like, oh, I forgot to actually have anything with Dylan.
Yeah, but we'll figure it out. Like,
exactly.
Like, we can figure it out 30 minutes before the event if we
Yeah.
needed to, you know. But I know we'll find something. Yeah, I'm really interested to see how Ty kind of progresses now after this, because Glade Warden lost half their number. You know, we were 6 and now we're 3 again.
Which tree is on brand?
Yeah,
Mini tree. One massacre.
So yeah, I'm still trying to decide on whether I'm going to try to actively recruit into Glade Warden, or whether I'm kind of just being like, you know, Glade Warden is going to just exist for like Reggie's Testament. That's going to be my focus in supporting him. So yeah, I'm still very up in the air as to what my game is going to be.
Naturally.
I think so. Like I don't want to push things too much or go in with
it's
like
gone up and down. Like there's been moments where there was just the two of us singing.
Yeah.
You know, so
it's not. I mean, more so from like how is Ty gonna go forward as like the head of the house? Like what's he gonna do? Is he gonna have like an urge to like, well, I'm gonna rebuild Glade Warden stronger, or is he gonna be like, you know what, maybe Glade Warden's not good enough, we have to focus inwards first before we let anyone else in.
Yeah,
you know, so
I can't wait to see what you
there's a couple of different ways I can go with it. So yeah, I'm
entering his Anduin Lothar arc where you walk around with a big shawl and look glum all the time.
yes, basically.
Yeah. I think we're about to run out of time, Dylan.
I think we're about to run out of time, but there's always time for a bit of promo.
Okay.
We didn't do it in the last episode because we got too into the oin bit. But like, as almost always, thank you so much for checking this out. This is obviously Fake Swords, Real Feelings, but we also have another podcast in series called Hearthfire Tales, which is a D&D actual play group where the two of us and our friend Ryan play lots of different D&D games together. And so we've got a long-running audio-only podcast. We've got some shorter one-shots that are 3 or 4 episodes long. Some of those are on video. We do streams over on Twitch and things like that. Plenty of things to sink your teeth into. So if you enjoy that type of stuff, give us a listen. You might enjoy it.
Yeah, absolutely. And come join our Discord. It is the Hearthfire Tales Discord, but there's a great swathe of it cut out for Fake Swords, Real Feelings. We've got a nice little community of...
Yep.
What do we call our Fake Swords feelers? We got a lot of feelers.
I don't think we have names for them.
We got a lot of feelers.
It's
in
all
there.
it's kind of weird. Yeah.
So yeah, come join the other feelers.
If you're a true feeler, come join your other community of other true feelers, and
and get inside access on things actually talented people like
like Mouse.
like Mouse are doing.
Yeah.
Isn't that wild?
But join the Discord. It's cool. You don't have to be a Hearthfire fan for it. It's just it's a nice kind of chill out space that we have.
It's just a nice nerd space, fully inclusive.
Yeah.
Nice hangout.
And as always, if you want to support the show, best way to do it is if you're new, is use our discount codes. They'll be in the description. That really, really helps us. Getting over to England is expensive
and horrible.
So anything that goes towards our ticket prices is fucking great. And if not, if you, I don't know, want to buy us a coffee, we have a coffee. We don't really push that. If you want to join us on Patreon, maybe we'll just make a Fake Swords tier. I don't know what we'll give out for it.
We'll make a Fake Swords tier.
We'll make a Fake Sword. We'll make
a cheeky, sneaky video on it. Or something now and then.
Maybe we'll have done that by the time this video releases.
Maybe we won't.
There's only one way to find out. Go to patreon.com/hearthfiretales.
We're not going to announce it any more than that.
And if you've seen Jim's sword, I don't know.
Oh yeah, shit. Sorry. My sword went out on the Deadwood Night skirmish and never came back to me. I don't know if I have a picture of it to show you. What's the name of it? What's the name of the guy? Craftigan. It's a Craftigan sword. It's kind of like a Chinese Jian. Gold pommel, red handle, gold hilt.
Is it not your green handle one?
Oh, sorry. Yes, green handle. It's the one I got that was a skin from my other sword to match my new kit. If you've seen it, I'm guessing it's probably going to be in Dawn or my group. It wasn't in Lost and Found.
Yeah.
Green handle, gold pommel, long straight blade.
Pretty hefty.
Pretty hefty
Probably handle. Yeah.
Always surprised to pass his weapon check. Okay, sword. It's not the one I'd bring with me if I had to go fight. But I would like it back. It matched my dead guy's outfit. Right. until next time. Sorry, and also to everybody who has done everything we just said, or one of them, thank you so much. We extremely
Yes,
appreciate
thank you.
Right, I like the way this phone looks on camera, so HD. I love that we can control the camera in here. It's not outside, but I do hate that we're not outside. I'm going outside into the dark.
I feel like you've warmed up to it a bit.
Yeah, and then I remembered just now where we are and how much I hate this, and I'm done.
You've got two plants in front of you. You'll be fine.
They're dying. I can
Don't say
feel
that.
it because they're not outside.
They're houseplants.
Nature. I don't like it. Bye.
Go spin the wheel and see where it lands. Join in the circus and stay for a dance. And right when the war quiets down, strike up the band. Keep marching on, my friends, and do what you can. Wait till your brothers and your sisters see where you've been. And if you love the journey more than the end, turn that hourglass around and count to 10. This ain't goodbye no more. It just began.